Hey guys, welcome back to ID Sketching with Coach K. This is the channel where you get tips and tricks to sketch like an industrial designer. I've been an industrial designer for over 30 years, so I've picked up a few things along the way that I think might be able to help you out a little bit. And so that's the purpose of why I'm here in this channel for you. So do me a favor, please leave comments in the comments section down below. If you have any ideas on future videos, comments on what's working, what's not working, or just other things that you'd like to see. That's where I get really motivated to produce some new material for all of you. So today I'm actually responding to a request for a motorcycle sketch. And so here we go. Let's get sketching. All right, so let's get started. Here's the inspiration sketches that I found by Livio Tudoran. I hope I'm pronouncing that okay. It's a Romanian name. But what I really liked here was the abstract way that he did these wheels and tires. So it's a sharp contrast to the really refined look of the main body. So what I did, very unusual for me to start with the more or less the vignette or the ground plane like this, and I just wanted to experiment with a new way of approaching this. So I went ahead and put the dark background in and the ground with kind of that dirt effect. I've actually used that in some other videos. If you check out another vehicle video with a vignette, and so I'm just trying to, on a separate layer now, trying to kind of hog out the basic form of the motorcycle. I don't ride motorcycles. I don't really know anything about motorcycles, but I think I know, enough to remember things that I've seen. So I'm implying a lot of detail here. And on the main body, you can see I'm also going ahead and using contour lines to help me think through how I'm going to want to render that and what surfaces will kind of be in shadow, what will have highlights to it. And so those contour lines will really come into play as I go along here. And of course, having them on a separate layer at the very end, I'll be able to turn them off and you won't see them at all. Basically on the wheels and tires here, it's kind of a guessing game. I want them to be loose and abstract like in the original inspiration sketch, and I'm trying some different brushes, pen tools, and eventually I'll get into tire tread and things of that nature, but it's all going to be very abstract. Once again, setting up that contrast between really refined looking body of the motorcycle and then taking and abstracting the wheels and tires, kind of let them fade into the ground. It's commonly done that way. If you look at a lot of automotive sketching, the focus will be on the body of the vehicle, and when it comes down to the wheels and the tires, they kind of break up and just fade into the ground. And mainly that's just because that would be a very tedious thing to illustrate, to render. And so it's just a stylized technique for that kind of ideation, automotive ideation. So I'm going around now, and I'm going to select the main body here, and with it being selected, then I can start referencing my contour lines and saying, okay, I'm going to push this surface back. It'll be a little bit in shadow. Other surfaces will stand proud and have a highlight to them. So, but keeping it selected like that, and allowing your strokes to extend beyond the boundary of that selection, it will allow you to apply color or shade and shadow, let's say with the airbrush, for instance, and have it look very contained and precise. That's the key, right, for the main body of this motorcycle. You can see on the wheels, I've also gone in kind of and filled it in with a very light area, and that's more or less to punch that area off the page a little bit. And what I'll do at the very end, you'll see me go back in and I'll knock it back with a soft eraser so that it really does blend in. I kind of had to laugh when I put that red nose on the front of this motorcycle. I don't know what I was thinking, and so that's gonna have to disappear. But just like with the main body now, the rest of the motorcycle, I'm starting with just a bucket fill of black, knocking back the opacity to where I just can still see my original line work. But the same thing will be going on here as I did on the silver body that I'm working on right now. I wanted to have really strong highlights on that to really communicate that it's a shiny metal. And in the black areas, I'm just pushing things back and forth, right? And so that's going to be just, I'll have certain indications of engine components that I can't even tell you what they are, but they're just little implied details that will bring that reality to the sketch and kind of have it, come alive a little bit. Back on the tires now and the wheels, this is pure experimentation at this point, because I don't really, I haven't done this like this before. I just know that I'm drawn to this technique, and I think it's really kind of interesting. It's not something that everybody likes. I mean, I've had students tell me that they don't like this. That they like a much higher level of precision in the sketch. I think it's really more what you're trying to communicate. Of course, that's always the case. Is who's your audience and what are you trying to communicate? This is, to me, really pushing the envelope on being an emotive sketch, right? So it's a sketch that has some attitude to it, and so I'm not. This isn't the type of sketch that I'd be communicating with engineering on. This is more like maybe marketing, right? To get them excited about this new model of motorcycle that's coming out, and so. That's the thing that you'll have to figure out when you're doing any sketch is figuring out not only the storytelling component, because you're always telling a story as a designer, right? And so what's the story and who's your audience? Always kind of keep that in mind. So I noticed on the original inspiration sketch that they had kind of Greeked in some lettering on the rim of that wheel in the back, and so I kind of mimicked that. It's not really legible words per se; it's just Greeked in letters. And you can probably tell I'm not a motorcycle guy by the by the gnarly tread I'm putting on the rear and front wheels. That's probably more like for a dirt bike as opposed to a street, a street bike. And but again, what it does is it gives a little bit of realism to it, right, in a very, very subtle way, and that's kind of quite intentional. I think what it comes down to on these wheels is really just picking areas where you want to have a little bit of a highlight and almost like a kind of like a sparkle coming off of it. And I've done that throughout the entire sketch. Is
just figuring out where you want those highlights to be, because that really, it distinguishes between different parts. It will, those are the realistic elements, illustrative elements that you throw into your sketches to really bring that realism to it, even at an early stage. Even if it's just an early concept sketch, it's a really valuable thing to throw in there. I'm not quite sure if I'll keep the wheels and those highlights quite as strong as they are, but they are on a separate layer, so I can drop the opacity at any point. Mainly, I'm just trying to get through and develop the overall feel of the sketch itself. There's some stylized detailing going on right now. And that's really the only way I can explain it. It's kind of, there are little elements that you don't necessarily have to throw in there. Of course, you don't want to throw in detailing that's distracting either, particularly when you're doing product sketches and ideation. You don't want there to be distractions. You want to be able to communicate very clearly what your design intent is. So now, again, some additional highlights. These are completely fabricated details. Part lines that I'm throwing in there, that circular element with highlights on it. It looks like it's a mechanical element or component to the bike, to that drivetrain cover, but it's exactly what I said. It's all kind of contrived and made up. I think the key element that I tell all my students too is think about every stroke, every detail, every bit of hatchwork that you put down, every geometry. It's all about relationships. And so what you do on one end of the bike, in this case, can and should relate to things that go on at the front of the bike. So there's continuity in the design. And so whether that, a lot of times it is purely just in the geometries themselves, but maybe it could also be materials, it could be textures, a lot of different things, right? But so it's good to start training your mind to think about these relationships that go on within your design itself. Right now, I always say I don't use the text tool very often in Sketchbook, and it's true, but in this case I just wanted a quick little reference, a little model number, or in this case just initials, and I'm just trying to find a place to put them in there. I'm going to knock it back to about 20% opacity, just so there's just a faint reference to, again, it looks like it's a manufactured part with a name on it, model name, and that lends some realism to it as well. And right now you can see I've got the soft erase, and I'm blending out some of that detail on the wheel and the area behind the wheel. So there's the final sketch. I even kind of put the CTX in the background, and that's it. Hey, I'd love to hear from you, so leave me some comments and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you back here soon.